Okay, check this out. You've heard the song Big Yellow Taxi. I hope you have. You probably know some of the lyrics. They go like this. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Right? You may know that. Joni Mitchell? Anyways, what if I told you Toronto then spent $300,000 to fix that paradise by importing a mini mountain? This isn't just a rock. It is the rock. And it has a story that connects a folk music legend, a hippie rebellion, and an insane urban development project right here in downtown Toronto. Look, you're not going to believe what happened here. And I want to go back in history 40 years ago. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're on a mission to uncover one of Toronto's most bizarre and expensive urban legends. Most people know Yorkdale as this incredible fancy high-end shopping district. Luxury boutiques, celebrity sightings, million-dollar condos. But underneath all this glam, this neighborhood has a wild past. It was once the beating heart of Canada's counterculture, a magnet for artists, for musicians like Joni Mitchell, and a hotbed of hippie rebellion. And then, poof, it vanished, replaced by concrete. That's where this guy comes in. This isn't just a garden feature. This is a 1 billion year old, 550-ton piece of Canadian shield. And the story of how it got here and what it represents is absolutely mind-blowing. Dive into the paved paradise history, see the exact spot Joni Mitchell sang about, and find out why Toronto paid such a fortune to bring a literal little mini mountain into the city. So stick around. Hopefully you won't miss this crazy adventure. Back in 1922, a new hospital opened up in Yorkville. And this hospital was for Jewish folks because, there really wasn't a hospital for the Yiddish. And at 100 Victoria Street in Yorkdale, Chanel is the old hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital. Now this is a brick facade now. It's all being rebuilt kind of behind. The old building is now gone. In the 60s, Yorkville was a hotbed of counterculture. A lot of the artists, the musicians, they were kind of moved out of different parts of Toronto and they ended up here in Yorkville. Now, what happened over a period of time, they decided they were going to have a protest and they wanted to close down the streets. And they did, but they eventually got moved out. So there's always been this kind of back and forth. I'm surrounded by luxury buildings right now. But back in the 60s, back in the 50s, back in different time, it wasn't like this. In the 1950s, there was many buildings, I think there was about 11 of them that were knocked down to make way for expansion for the parking lot that was to be built because the subway had kind of moved in. And so they needed people a place to park, I guess. And so by doing so, they tore down 11 buildings, built this parking lot, which they said to the residents that they weren't going to do. They kind of went back on their promises and they built a big, ugly parking lot. So Joni Mitchell came up with this song, A Big Yellow Taxi, and in the song it says, she came up with the famous lyrics to they paved over paradise and built a parking lot. And that is what stood for like 30 years, well, less than 30 years, maybe 25 years. There was a lot of controversy around it. So Toronto decided to make it right, I guess. And so they decided that they were going to pay $300,000 to move a little mini mountain into Yorkdale. Now, the rest of the project cost $2.7 million. I mean, $2.7 million to build a park is one thing, but $300,000 for a little rock is something else. So let's go take a look at what happened to this parking lot. So I don't know about you, but this is much better than just a parking lot. Yes, parking lots need to exist somewhere, and there is. There's one just one street over, and it's an underground parking. It's above ground parking. It is parking back there, and there's parking right over there. But right where I'm standing and everything that I've just shown, this was the $2.7 million renovation change of building a space for people to hang out, kind of brought back to a connection to nature. They brought in this big rock. They brought this rock from Gravenhurst, Ontario on 20 flatbed trucks. And then they had to start putting it back together. So this rock was taken apart in so many pieces, and now it's being all put back together. And people climb on the rock, people explore Toronto, they come here, they go to Starbucks for drinks, they hang out at the tables, they sit on the tables. I mean, people watch. It's much better than a parking lot as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it cost a lot of money to build this, but I think it's better than what was here for years ago. But they started the process in 1991, I believe, and then in 1994, the park opened with this massive, huge mountain of a rock here in Yorkdale, here in Yorkville. So there's always a little bit of something to know about an area. People just walk by it. They don't even question, like, why is this big rock here? But that's the reason why the rock's here, right? Joni Mitchell finally, got her way and said, like, why are we building a parking lot here? Let's put something here that's different. Maybe a park would be way better. And this is what the city of Toronto had promised, right? They had promised a park. There was 11 Victorian homes here that were like 70 to 100 years old. Some of them dated back into the 1800s, and they tore them all down. I don't know if they were bad or they were condemned or whatever, but there was a lot of them here, and it was all taken down to build a parking lot instead of trying to preserve some of the history. But now there's a beautiful park here that was built in the 90s. So I guess that's a good thing. And there's a big, huge rock that cost a lot of money. But you know what? No one's going to be trying to steal that rock.